Welcome to today's mathematics.
Did you start?
Yeah, it's been recording. I'm just chop it up.
Welcome to today's mathematics, man. Happy to have y'all. I didn't get a chance to tap in on Friday, but we back, baby.
Welcome
we
to
back.
Price Discovery. This is where
Get
you're
into
gonna
it.
find what you need to be looking out for in the market. Let's dive right in. I'm your host, Billy Yenz.
Yo, it's Benji with him.
That's right. Let's get into it. So, if you watched our previous weekly roundup, you already know that we've already covered what September is. Overall, historically is a pullback month. Historically is a red month. We need to make sure that we're keeping these things in mind when we're looking for trade opportunities. Additionally, we talked about we had a spike to the upside after Jerome Powell at the Jackson Hole Convention, which for the most part was a quick retracement back, you know, to the downside,
What
right?
day was that? That was.
That was 2 weeks ago. We had that strong spike up
hmm
for the Jackson Hole. We was consolidating. We got to the downside, and then we tried to recover this, but it's really hard to call this an all-time high as a bearish engulfing candle. Technically, of course, price did come up here, right? But this doesn't really give me a lot of strong indication to the upside. Additionally, we were just talking off camera about the market is expecting a cut to be announced on the 17th of September, right? Which is in the middle of the month. It's not going to be this week, but it's going to be next week. So that's going to be something else to look out for. But in knowing that we're going to have a huge catalyst in the following week, not this week may be, for the most part, all consolidation.
Talk about what you expect for the cuts. Like, what do you expect that to mean for the market?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for the most part, you got to think about buyers and sellers, right? If a cut essentially means, hey, it's going to be easier for banks to give out loans because they're getting charged a lower rate to, give those loans out. And additionally, those savings per se, but those interest cuts are also going to be passed down to the consumer, which means if you were going to, you know, step into a mortgage at a 12%, if you get those rate cuts, you would hopefully get a mortgage less than that, right? Less than the average of what normally has been going on. Additionally, we were just talking in our mathematics discussions about the overall housing economy, right? Recently, Redfin reported up to over 500,000 sellers over the amount of buyers in the current market. So all that means is, again, supply and demand, right? When he's got a ton of supply, that demand goes up. So that, on top of it being more attractive for people to get into those long-term loans, we could see that housing market shift back to a more positive side for buyers. What
Yeah.
what do you think?
No, that's a good. That's a good point. I like the way you brought in the housing market because I think I don't know. We have a lot of viewers from different age groups, but housing is one thing that, whether you're a real estate investor or looking to just be, a consumer and just buy your first home.
Mm-hmm.
I know personally, a lot of my colleagues and friends around have been looking for the right opportunity, right, to buy a home. So with these rate cuts coming in the next 2 weeks, definitely something to look out for. I would say, at least prepare for, right? So you can start if you're someone who's looking to dive into real estate, now would be a good time to. Hopefully, you've been saving up some capital,
Right.
but now would be a really good time to start saving capital because I don't think it's not going to be rate cuts on the 17th and all of a
Right. It's just
sudden.
the announcement, right?
Right. So the actual effects and that's just the first one, by the way. There might be more cuts in the future, right?
Right.
So all that to say, like we anticipate right now the housing market is it's seller's market, right? So everything's kind of overpriced basically. Which is why, to the point that you said that the article came out that we have 500,000 more sellers in the market than we have buyers. So you have a lot of that's like you said, supply is higher than demand right now. Why is demand low? Because nobody has the funds because interest rates are too high. So now that Powell is coming in, or rates are expected to be cut down,
Expected.
you can expect that housing market to kind of come back to equilibrium. So, like I said, that might not be this year, but something for our viewers to maybe start prepping for as far as savings. Hopefully, you're saving some money, so you can have some money for down payments and things like that.
And we make the connection from like interest cuts to the housing market and the real estate market, because for the most part, that's the majority of people's wealth. Or that's the majority of the way that people either store their wealth or build their wealth, right? Most people are, the first time they're a millionaire, it's including the price or the value of their home,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the way that a lot of people make a lot of money is by being in the real estate investment community,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's you have a lot of doors that you own and maintain, or you're somehow, some way in that market, right? So it's a huge place that people go in terms of commercial and retail investors. They go to the real estate market to find those ways of generating that wealth.
Yeah.
So that's just overall, like, again, just trying to connect the dots between, okay, this news, what does it mean overall for the opportunities available, not just for us, but for everyone in the US? Like, why does it matter, right? Why is it
Mm-hmm.
important?
Yeah. No, good call out. I think transitioning now to, just putting in the viewpoint of this SPY
Mm-hmm.
market. We talked about rate cuts, but what came out on Friday, especially, was the jobs report. All
Mm-hmm.
right, so jobs. I don't think it's time to be super worried, but definitely a time where maybe the job market isn't doing as well as previously anticipated for a lot of factors. You know what I mean? From the tariffs to maybe there was a little bit of over hiring and maybe in the past couple of years, or now with the introduction of AI and becoming more people are learning how to leverage AI. So it's a combination of all things is what I'm trying to say, right? But overall, we did get a jobs number that was, correct me if I'm wrong, it was on Friday basically, just weak, right? So we had, it says,
Just continued weakness. It says the U.S. economy only added 22,000 jobs in August, followed by the economy lost over 13,000 jobs in June, right? So we're seeing that we're not really making up for the jobs that are being lost. And in addition to that, like, again, when we look at, we want to connect these things in terms of these headlines that we see with what's actually going on. So if you see on, maybe on your LinkedIn's perhaps, where you can see, hey, people are searching for jobs, people are not happy at their jobs, but they can't leave their jobs because they're still looking for someone who's going to hire them, right? So people aren't being hired. People are having growth. Growth is essentially stalled because people are in a standstill. People are stuck in stalemates, right, between a rock and a hard place. That's why Donald Trump is pushing for the Fed to make something happen, right? Make something shake. At least give people a little bit of breathing room. At least giving them the ability or the choice to maybe hop into a mortgage, maybe make some more small business loans so that they can, again, jolt the economy.
yeah,
But
yeah,
for the most part, that's going to be as far as we go in terms of fundamental analysis in terms of the market. But it is important always to understand the high level situations that are going on, because again, you can look at a chart, but if you get bad news, then your technical analysis doesn't matter, right?
yeah. Yeah.
So let's dive in.
Yeah, looking at SPY, I mean, we just talked about it, right? So on Friday, from the jobless claims, we didn't get as many new jobs, as expected by economists. So reason we came down. Mind you, we did begin that day on Friday with a all-time high at about 651. So, or almost touching 652. So we did get all-time highs, but then we got a mean push down. But we do have a wick at the bottom here.
Mm-hmm.
It came all the way down to 643. But then we did close on Friday at 647. So, I mean, technically, you can see here. I would say this is. I wouldn't say this is a. I would say we're still on an uptrend. However, I would advise caution, or personally, I'm pushing caution because like we said, there's a lot of stuff going on in the economy right now, and even though we did make all time highs, um, yeah, we
It's
did
a
get a nice
bearish
push
candle.
down.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? You can't really find all time highs with bearish continuation there,
yeah.
especially on the lower time frames.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, we're still in a technically uptrend, right? But you can have bullish consolidation within an uptrend. You never want to trade within a box, right? You want to be able to strategically place yourself in high probability setups.
Mm-hmm.
So,
The
what?
H1 on this does look good, though. I will say the H1 on this does look good, but it could be a fake out. So
Hmm.
me personally, I would just advise caution. Like I said, even if I do trade this, it'll be light. I probably wouldn't put my foot in it. But yeah.
And I would say also
Okay.
too, what does caution look like in the market, right? How do you practice caution when you're trading? Never forget that cash is a position, right? And we talked about this before. It's not the first time that we said it, and it's not going to be the last. But cash is a position because what's the point of trying to trade a choppy market when there's an opportunity that's going to happen next week that you'll lose 50%, 20% of your portfolio on trying to make whatever you're trying to make.
Mm-hmm.
The best position is to hold for that high probability setup. And so if you don't see a high probability setup, your best bet is just to chill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely trade the plan. Don't let the market trade you.
Right.
All right. So looking more into the weekly outlook for this week, um, for me, my top two stock picks this week are Nvidia and we're gonna start off with Nvidia. So on Nvidia, let's zoom out first. Top down analysis. Um, so overall, I mean, you can just kind of see. Actually, I'm gonna start with the weekly. On the weekly, you can see we made all time highs here. I believe this is all time highs,
Mm-hmm.
and then we started to kind of get this correction here, which is expected. We can't go up forever. So I was expecting this to kind of maybe calm down around this purple line here at about 170. But then last week we ended up pushing through it and closing below it. So drilling down now to actually see what that looked like. We were getting consolidation around this purple line, support line at 170. And then Friday we ended up breaking it and we did close below. Now there is a gap here. However, so I wouldn't be surprised maybe you get a slight retracement to touch 170 again before going down. But overall, I think that we will get a push down this week on Nvidia. So I'm looking for maybe 165 puts. Wouldn't be a bad idea. Price target maybe. Let's zoom in a little bit. I would say price target could really touch this green moving average here. So
That's the 100.
oh, the 100, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So the 100 in May. So you can look for a $10 move here. That might be a little overzealous, but to be safe, maybe you take profit at 163. But I
Mm-hmm.
definitely do think we'll get it, especially once we close the low. I can see a mini support zone right
And
here.
again, this is the daily too, so we could
Mm-hmm.
still mess around and touch that 160, 157 zone the following week
Mm-hmm.
for the Fed announcement, right? For the
Yeah.
Fed meeting.
Yeah.
So we could get consolidation right here in this zone that we're at, just to push down and then gap up later.
Yep. I wouldn't be surprised if you get a little bit of push up, size consolidation here, touch 170, never close
Mm-hmm.
above 170, and then next week we actually get that push down. But overall, I mean, I'm bearish on Nvidia. Like I said, 165 puts maybe for end of this month. I think it'd be a good bet. Second stock for me was what did I say earlier? Man, I forgot. What was my other one?
Using deck, using Chewy.
Chewy. There you go. So for Chewy, I've actually been in this. We had a lot of drawdown this week. Sorry, y'all.
Scroll on the
Yeah, I don't want to go to monthly. So we actually had a lot of drawdown on display, but you can see this long wick here. Sorry, let me zoom in a bit more. This long wick at the bottom was a little bit of a fake out. So you see we came up, we got this resistance line drawn at about $40.70. We came up, we tested it last week, or sorry, 2 weeks ago, we closed above it, which is why we got in this trade, right? We're looking to extend this bullish momentum to at least $43. So we entered last week, but then I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago, and then last week we got a bit of a fake out, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it came down, but then it ended up wicking off the bottom, and we got to push up on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just
Now
chill. Oh, go
also
ahead.
even on
Sorry.
the week, is this the weekly?
Yeah, it's the weekly.
Yeah, even on the weekly, you can see that the 50 MA is trying to cross to the upside on the 200. So
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely bullish. Some people might zoom too far out and say, hey, maybe this is a head and shoulders situation that's trying to form. But it's never a head and shoulders until it's a head and shoulders. So for now, it's just a higher high, higher low, and we're trying to come back and make a higher high here.
Yep. So yeah, that pretty much covers it. Just looking deep, drill down to see it more clearly. So we came up, and then what day is this? Third, Tuesday, Thursday. Sorry, let me go to the daily actually. Yeah, so pretty much made a double bottom here against
Mm-hmm.
the what is this, the 50?
Mm-hmm.
The 50 MA. The price has still been holding above the 50 MA on this daily. So it looks good, like I said. And then Friday, we got this nice push up and rejection off the bottom. So yeah, I'm looking for, I think I'm currently in $42 calls, expiring for 2 weeks out. So the 19th of September. And looking to at least touch 43. It's a safe take profit here.
Yeah, definitely. I really like that. Let's take a look at PayPal. I know that last week we got the we got the sell signal on PayPal. Again, this is the daily, so you can see we already got the cross to the downside on the MAs. So the MAs are kind of already aligned, and we've just been consolidating within the zone. And not Friday, but Thursday, we had a super strong push to the downside. That's why we got this strong wick to 66. But when we look deeper at what the chart is really showing us, price is not unfamiliar with this zone, right? So definitely can continue to push back down. It can continue to come and try to kiss that 66 zone again, especially again when we look at the MAs. Um, Not necessarily playing this, but maybe it will give us an opportunity to come back down. But it may continue to consolidate here. For the most part, again, in September, we're looking for. In September is typically a bearish month, so I try to look for puts. Additionally, let's take a look at Starbucks in the same spirit of puts. Again, we're still in that daily, and you can see that this is kind of a similar chart, right? The MAs are aligned to the downside. This is the 50 here, this yellow line. And then on Friday, we had that strong push, strong bearish engulfing candle below this zone, right? So what I expect is we'll likely continue to push to the downside, maybe consolidate here where we previously have done that. So this is the 82, 84 zone. But it could consolidate above this zone and then try to come and touch this 50 MA. It's pretty far from that MA. So, price is always over correcting to or away from those MAs. So this is what we're looking for here. If we get a close below this 82.8 or this 84.82 zone, I could see us taking profit below this here, maybe get an 83 or 82 call. And it's always important to understand, like, how far do you actually expect this move to go, right? Especially when you're playing puts, you don't really want to have something where, oh, well, let's say it's going to go down to 74, and you grab a 74 put and then try to wait for that to go into the money, right? You need to be able to set your expectations there. Let's move on. Um, we talked about Apple on Friday, so we don't have to go into that. Let's look at Amazon. Amazon's an interesting one, especially going into the holiday season. For the most part, we've had all-time highs here closer to 242. So it looks like our last daily candle, or our last two daily candles, gap to the upside, and then just to test this zone, right? This 232 zone. So I do expect this to likely fill this gap. Same way that it gapped to the downside, and then it consolidated to fill this gap to the upside. Now it gapped to the upside. I do feel like it should come and consolidate to the downside, but this would be a bullish move, right? Because in a more grand scheme of things, because again, if we can get the price to consolidate above this 226, we can expect it to come and try to test these 234 zones, right? Kazi, what do you see here for Amazon? Anything point out?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, for bulls, for me personally, I'll be looking for a break and close above 234, so 235 and up, maybe for bulls. But like you said, because we did get this gap up, it's like, and then we did got to close below this line, this resistance at on Friday, daily close. So I wouldn't be surprised if you push down maybe before you got another push up. Amazon's a great company. I'm always pretty bullish on them, but
Right.
as far as trade ideas, yeah, I mean, you could maybe play this consolidation from 232 to 226, but me personally, because I'm so bullish on them, I would just wait, maybe till we start going down, looking for consolidation around 226, 227, and then look for opportunities to get in for the buy. Or you just wait for the break and retest of 235 to be more safe.
Yeah, let's look at Broadcom, AVGO, something that last week showed a lot of promise to the upside, especially after it gapped up. Um, it's definitely a big contender to be one of the newer Mag Sevens, right? Trying to kick Tesla out of that overall market cap dominator zone. Um, so yeah, so when you see a gap up like this, you can always play the fade. You can always at least either play the fade to the downside or play the fade back up to wherever this candle was. Let's go to the H4 and see a little bit more of what that looked like. Yeah. So on the H4, all you see here is continuation to the downside. We could definitely come and at least come and try to kiss this 317. We're currently at 335. Let's see what the market opens at. But when we look at the history of this chart, it's never been here before, right? So again, this is new price discovery for this chart. So definitely expect this to come and try to fill this gap to the downside. If not this week, then next week for sure. But again, we're looking for puts. So definitely a strong contender. And then again, we just mentioned about those MAs. Look how far the MA is from the current price. Definitely could see this coming down, trying to at least make some stronger structure here. This is not sustainable for this stock. There's no way that this stock is going to gap up like this and then stay up here.
Do you know what caused that gap? Was it earnings or something?
I think it was earnings.
Okay. They crushed earnings.
Yeah, they crushed earnings. Surprise beat by 0.169%. And that was on Thursday.
Okay. Yep. Copy. So you got a gap up because of earnings. You can expect that gap to fill more than likely. Broncos are pretty expensive one though.
Nah, for sure. For sure. But we're not counting y'all pockets. So just giving y'all opportunities of this could be the move that changes your life. They say that 90% of traders quit right before they make it big. So they say that about traders or gamblers.
I think trading and gambling is the same thing. I'm just
JK. Nah, but let's break that down, because some people do think that this is straight gambling, and I've had to walk people off that ledge. So if someone was to come to you and be like, "Oh, you trade? That means you're a gambler." Like, what would you tell them?
Nah, I mean it's there's the similarities between trading and gambling is that it involves risk, right? There's obvious risk even involved in both. Gambling is you're just literally just taking a chance. There's no science. I mean, some people play poker, maybe
right,
a strategy, but in the day you're at the discretion of the cards you're given, right, or whatever the role you get or whatever, right. So, but with trading, you are literally just taking calculated risks. That's all you're doing based on all the factors that affect whatever market that you're involved in.
Yeah.
So I understand the similarities. That just mean like, oh, you're taking risk.
For sure.
Like, yeah, I'm risking money. For
sure. I think like from a far point of view, like that's what somebody would say. They would say like, oh, like you just trying to put some money in to get some more money out, right?
Right.
But when we're talking about risk, you know what else has risk? Waking up every morning. So there's some risks that you have to take regardless, and there's some risks that are going to pay off, right? I would say that with gambling is probably more probability based, and then also the culture around with like card gambling, or like slot machines. A lot of those things are rigged. There's a lot of other places, or there's a lot of other factors that go into the spirit of gambling, right? I think that with trading, you can be gambling when you trade. So that's the truth. But how do you avoid that, right? Because when you gamble, the house always wins. And that's the same thing with trading. If you're gambling when you're trading and you're always losing, then you're gambling. So have some self-awareness. If you're always consistently losing when you're trying to trade, you're gambling. So you need to go back. And we've talked about this before in the past, right, people? Go do the study ups. This is why price discovery comes out on Mondays and Mondays and Sundays, and then we have weekly roundups on Fridays and Saturdays. So you can take that time, watch our videos, take some more time to do some more studying before the market opens back up. When the market's closed, that's the best time to study and look at some charts, because guess what? You're not flustered. You don't feel that over need to try to make it in or make it big, because the truth is, people make money off trading all the time. So you need to figure out how, right? And for the most part, what are you trading, right? Because you could trade anything. You could trade corn if you'd like, but we're trading. So for the most part, these companies are things that we see in the day-to-day life. Hey, like this is affecting real U.S. economies. This is affecting our day-to-day life. So we trade tech stocks. We trade real commodities. Like people buy Starbucks. People literally buy Starbucks. I saw them. They built a new Starbucks by my mom's house the other day. So that's not a sign of a company that's necessarily, you know, doing bad.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could. I know people. I know some gamblers too. Like
Yeah,
they associate parlays the same thing as trading. Where it's
for
like,
sure.
not as much, bro. You can't control what those players do on the court. You can't control injuries.
Mm-hmm.
You can't control how much playing time they get.
Mm-hmm.
You can't control game flow of the game.
Mm-hmm.
With the market, obviously, you can't control what the market is doing, but you can predict what the market's going to do as well as respond. Right.
Based
So,
off history, right?
right. So I can look at key levels. I can look at what price has done. I can look at what this stock or this, whatever you're trading, what this stock has been doing around this
Historically.
same price that it's at right now, and I can make a prediction based on current situations. What's going on? Do I anticipate the market to go down, or is price good? Is grocery prices good? Is gas prices good? Is economy good? To where I can like, oh, I'm actually more bullish, right? I'm actually more thinking this market is going to go up. So, but yeah, I
And there's a
think
huge difference between trading and investing, because the truth is, with the same ticker symbol, if you're just buying the shares consistently over a 10-year period, there's no way you're not making money, even if it's 1%. You know what I mean? But when it comes to that time decay, right? If you're trying to make money between now and next week, that's when it gets more difficult. You have to dig into more of those fundamental and those technical analysis, and that's what we do here on Price Discovery.
yeah, definitely. Don't look to become a millionaire overnight
No.
trading. It's not going to work out.
Yeah. Set those expectations.
Yeah, you gotta have risk management. You gotta know what you're looking at. You gotta know what you're doing to be consistently profitable. Can you get lucky on one play? Sure, anybody can get lucky. You can go bet it all on black and just happen to double your money or triple your money, but that doesn't mean you're actually a good gambler.
Yeah, try that shit again.
You know Can you do that shit? Yeah, do it 2 times, 3 times in a row.
Can you do it consistently? And so this is what we're trying to do as well with Price Discovery and with the weekly roundups, right? We're showing you how to have this consistency. We're holding ourselves accountable, and we want you guys to hold yourselves accountable. So we want to see you guys in the comments. We want to see you sharing and subscribing. We want to see you hitting that like button.
Awesome. Definitely.
Yep.
Y'all have a great week, man. Be blessed.